This is JJ of Fight, and you're watching Metal Stream Radio.
I was going to ask you what your kind of inspirations were starting out there. What bands did inspire you, and I guess who inspired you to pick up the bass, and how did that all start?
That would be Kiss.
Well, there. Oh, right. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, my aunt took me on my 7th birthday to see Kiss, and that changed my life.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's funny actually. I interviewed Mantis from Venom a while back, and one of his biggest inspirations is Kiss as well. Kiss seems to run quite smoothly through a lot of even contrast. And both of you do really heavy music, but Kiss, seems to have a big place in your heart, which is yeah. And what was it? Gene's particular style of playing. I mean, I loved him on. As a kid, I loved Kiss, but obviously the one cliche song, I Was Made for Loving You, I'd always wait for his bass part,
Right.
You just wait for that section. I particularly like when bass isn't in the background too much. I like people who bring the bass up a bit. Geezer Butler, I always thought was quite cool like that as well, and brought the bass a bit more forward. That's just how I love to hear the bass. I like to hear the bass, and with Fight, that's what I loved about you. You could hear the bass, and it wasn't just a background thing,
Yeah, I mean, I liked anything dark, I mean, that's probably why I liked Gene, because, he was the dark one in the group, spitting blood, fire, and shit.
Very much, yeah. It was pretty crazy shows, wasn't it? There's,
Yeah.
I guess, one of the most theatrical bands back in the day that were going. I saw them a few years ago back at Download Festival, and even then they were going over on a zip line, and crazy shows. They haven't tamed it down or anything. It's still a wild show and a really good experience. I think some of these images, one of my first gigs was Alice Cooper, and kind of like you, that is what cemented me into like loving this style of music. I grew up hearing it with my dad and stuff, but seeing him in person, Alice, and they're in your face singing, I was front row. These things do stick with you, don't they? And they kind of they make you want to become a rock star or whatever. That's kind of how it all sort of always starts out, I think, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that had to have been killer seeing Allison front row.
Yeah, insane.
I've never seen him live. I'd love to see him.
Really? Oh, yeah. I've seen him a few times. Well, it was my first ever gig, and that was the first time I saw him front row. I think the other times it was a seated gig, which was really strange. The second one I did, and everyone was seated. You don't really want to be seated for Alice, it's kind of it's a bit weird. But I was a kid, so I managed to walk down to the side of the stage even then, and the security wasn't too bad. They let me just stand there at the side of the stage, and but the first time is what really sticks in my mind, because he was like looking at you in the eyes as he was singing and really in your face. And he had Steve Hunter in the band at that point, which had recorded some of his good albums like Halo of Flies and those kind of songs. Trying to remember what that album's called now, the one with the snake on it. But yeah, one of the earlier albums, he worked on a lot of that. So that was one of the last times he played with Alice, and that was cool to see. And yeah, it was insane seeing him front row and seeing him look you in the eyes. That's something that really stuck out for me. I definitely recommend seeing him if he ever comes to town. 100%. He's one of the best shows out there, I think. Really theatrical. Yeah, really cool. And how old were you when you got into doing the tattoos? How did that start?
I've always been into tattoos ever since there was this old dude that lived next to my aunt that had like a naked lady on his arm that was like an old, I don't know, like an old naval tattoo.
Of course. And that stuck with you, did it? That.
Yeah, and then I mean I got into tattooing I think when I was like 16.
That's crazy. And the skill that goes into it, it must be it's a lot of hours, isn't it? A lot of hours, and I guess
Oh yeah.
patience and concentration. Yeah, you must have some stories to tell. It must be a pretty intense days, I imagine.
Yeah, the first celebrity I tattooed was Mike Clark from Suicidal Tendencies when I was 17.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Really? Cool. That must have been kind of a bit of inspiration. I
Oh
guess
yeah,
it's
because I love Suicidal. So
mm,
like
yeah,
so getting to tattoo him was crazy as a kid.
yeah. That is surreal. It must be nice to sort of watch the shows and stuff and see the tattoo and things like that. I can imagine it must be one of those things that keeps you going, kind of knowing you've tattooed these people and they carry your art with them, wherever they go. And yeah, it's really, really cool. I've always had admiration for the skill that goes into making tattoos, and it is art, and it is this absolute
Oh
art.
yeah, it's come a long way.
Yeah, yeah. I love how realistic. You do quite a lot of realistic stuff, don't you? It's very. I don't know what the exact phrase is to describe it, but it's very real looking stuff. It's not it's not the cartoon.
No cartoony stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, very, very real looking, and that must be even extra time, I guess, getting it that realistic. And yeah,
Especially because you're working on skin and everybody's skin is different. So
Mm,
sometimes it goes in easy, sometimes you got to really work it
yeah,
in. Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
definitely a unique gig.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I bet. The closest I've got is my friend, probably rather stupidly, let me do that stick and poke tattoo on them once. That's the closest I've got to tattoo, and I did Mo from the Simpsons on their leg, so
That's
probably
funny.
not the best idea, but but they're happy with it, so that's all that matters.
Nice.
But yeah, it's kind of she likes to get her friends to do stuff because it kind of has more significance to her and stuff. But
Oh yeah.
it does end up with some pretty bad tattoos, I guess. But if you like them, you like them. It kind
Yeah.
of it's got memories attached.
Yeah. Hey man, to each their own. Everybody's
Exactly.
got their own journey.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. I think if it suits your taste and style, it doesn't matter what it is really. And if you like it, then screw everyone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hey, this is Satchel from Steel Panther. You're listening to Metal Stream Radio with Metal Matt, and he is totally naked from the waist down.